Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talk About It Tuesday. I'm Tosca Di Matteo, founder of Tosca Coaching and Consulting, and I'm so excited for today's guest, Annie Samojedny. She is going to talk to us today about craniosacral healing, and she's been a huge part of my healing journey in the past several years, and I'm just so excited for you all to be introduced, if you aren't already, to what this healing modality can do for you. Welcome, Daniel. Welcome, Karen's great to see you here. So I'm just waiting for Annie to pop on Instagram here, which may take a few seconds. But I'm just like so honored, and I think that it's just so nice to know that there's all these modalities out there, right, for how we can kind of clear our way to live our best life. And I love the fact that like this wasn't talk therapy and it was just all visceral. And here she is, so I'm gonna bring her on. Very excited. Yay. Welcome, Annie. She's coming on right now. Hi, Annie.
Oh my God, it's working. I can do this.
You did it.
Hey, Tosca, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm really great, and I'm so honored that you have me here today. And thank you to all the beautiful people in the audience that are signing up today to listen in on this gorgeous conversation.
Yes. Thank you. Look at you. You like jumped in and like, yes, love it.
I can't wait.
Yes, we have Karam and Danielle are on so far, and I'm sure there will be plenty more either on during this or after we post it. But I just, before you came on, I just talked about how you've just been such an amazing part of my journey,
Thank you.
of discovering my magic, of healing my wounds that, you know, go so far back. Um, and I was just saying that I love that the work that you do, it's just, it's not talk therapy, it's all visceral, right? Like, which I'm just excited to introduce people to, like what craniosacral therapy is, who you are, the magician that you are. And my mom joined. Welcome, Mom. I'm excited for you to meet Annie. I'm talking about you all the time here, but
Hey, Mom.
so I just want to hand it over to you to share whatever you want about who you are, your path, what you do, whatever you want to share, and we'll just kind of dig right in.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I think if I share a little bit about how I happened upon craniosacral work, it'll clarify before I get into explaining exactly what it is. So obviously I'm Annie Samojedny, and I'm really happy to be here. I am trained as a physical therapist. I graduated from NYU in 1982, a long time ago. And I have to tell you guys, I was like a straight-laced PT working in the city, working in big places in the city and doing a lot of orthopedics. I didn't really have, at that time, a sense of mind, body, spirit connection, quite frankly. However, I always had this essence of having a faith and being a light. Like, that's something that I knew I was different from everybody else, but I wouldn't exactly own it. Like, I'd be working with people doing, therapy, and they'd be like, Annie, you're magical. And I'd be like, no, I'm not. It's the training. I'm just very highly trained. And I would like not own it at all. It was hysterical. And didn't matter how many people told me that. Everybody told me that. And then, time goes on. I'm like in my 30s, having kids. I moved to Westchester. I live in Croton. And I kid you not, I was like actually 38. And these two physical therapists were doing the in-service on craniosacral therapy. And I had no idea what it was because, quite frankly, it's not in our education system as physical therapists. I learned later on it's outside the scope of education for most medical professionals. And especially on the Northeast coast of where we live. When you go out to Colorado, there are doctors that prescribe craniosacral therapy all the time. And they love cranial work. So it's really interesting, to bring that stuff out. In any event, these two PTs were doing an in-service lecture, and I heard it, and I was like, wait a minute, what? You can change a person's body with a very light touch technique, and all you have to do is show up and listen? What is that? I thought, I don't know. I'm not buying into that, honestly. And I was very, very skeptical. And they taught like a very basic 10-step protocol where you very gently place your hands on a person's craniosacral stations, right? So the pelvis, the belly area, which is the respiratory diaphragm, the chest, the throat, the cranium. And it was foreign to me. And then one day I had this poor guy walk into the clinic who blew his back out. Couldn't do anything with him at all. And I was like, either try this stuff or send him to the ER, like it was a dire situation. And so I worked on it. And of course, my magic came right in because that was really who I was, but I didn't know it. And the guy, like, literally got off the table and he was so much better. And I was like, what? What is that? I was like, remember when you used to say to me, Annie, what is this stuff? What's going on?
I think you say, what the hell is this shit? I think it was a little more brass.
So
But yeah.
I started training. Like I said, okay, I want to know more. Like I was intrigued. I got a little hooked. So I started training, which meant I had to be on the table. I had to receive. And so and that was like the beginning of my journey to really find out who I was as a person. It became so profound. Did not expect that at all. I thought I was just going to be a better therapist, helping my patients, I didn't realize that I was going to become more alive. And to explain what it is so that you guys can put it in perspective, Normally in physical therapy, we're taught to do something like, you're weak, I'm going to strengthen you. You're tight, I'm going to stretch you, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Craniosacral therapy is this. It's a system, craniosacral system. It's like your brain and your spinal cord are connected. They're surrounded by a membrane called the dural membrane. And the dural membrane even is inside within the brain cavities where you have the ventricles. And it houses a circulation of the cerebral spinal fluid. So you're talking about the circulation of your life force, of the central and peripheral nervous system, and it affects everything in your body. And what's interesting is that with a very light touch, 5 grams, the weight of a nickel, a skilled practitioner can put their hands anywhere on a person's body and feel that rhythm come into play. So if you can imagine taking a deep breath and you can feel your rib cage expand and retract, it even affects your shoulder girdle. So this is another type of respiration. In osteopathic medicine, they actually call it primary respiration, where the production of craniosacral fluid and the circulation of the fluid, there's a full body rhythm response. And when there's any form of dis-ease or dysresonance, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, we can name all the different energy body layers, spiritual, because it's all of it. We are all of that all of the time. That practitioner can listen, just show up, hold a grounded sacred space and listen to that person, and the rhythm will show what is not working, what's not moving, what's holding energy, what's an obstacle, a restriction. And so to show up and just be a great listener and then connect on all different levels with the intention of, okay, I'm here. What would you like to do with this? And it's like the two people become together working on this place of dis-ease. And what ends up happening is there's an opening that's so profound where the nervous system is liberated, the person is upheld and felt seen and heard. And then there's this connection to magic and spirit, because in fact, it is divine. When you look, for me, what divine means is I think of nature, the innate intelligence of nature. I'm non-denominational, and so I look at the intelligence of universal life force energy. I acknowledge the metaphysics of there being an energy matrix and that we all affect each other, and there is this oneness that exists in nature, in life, in all people. It's the collective vibration, And I think that what happens is when people receive craniosacral therapy, it brings them closer to themselves, their issues. The issues are in the tissues. And when you talk about wounds, I usually use the word trauma, right? So we come into this lifetime of experiences and we take in certain experiences that are traumatic, and on a cellular level, the fascia, the body holds that, and we have an opportunity to work with it so that we can really grow and evolve and get through to the other side of it, to really raise our vibration and end up finding out who are we and what do we want out of life. Because when you bother to ask those questions and you can find the intimacy of being with yourself in that profound, loving way, your magic will come out. And that's what happened to me, is I realized, you know what? I have magic. I'm an empath. I can work with light and channel energy, and I have a profound ability to listen to people with a loving presence. I think that's magical. Why not own it?
Yes.
And I love for everyone to know that they can be magical. If you're in your truth, no one can take that away from you. And we have a right to that. So I hope that's my introduction.
Annie, I freaking love it. We've never really had these conversations, right? So the way you describe it, I was like, yes, I'm totally gonna send this out to the world. Let's send it out everywhere. I'm sitting here going, Annie, we gotta get you a TED Talk. Everybody needs to know about that. I know, right? Wait, yeah, it's coming.
Okay.
And there's a few things I kind of want to pull out. And by the way, for those who are, blessed to be here live, please feel free to pop a question in. Annie,
Yes.
this is a rare occurrence, but not going forward. Not going forward, because we're going to get Annie out there. That's my mission.
I think you're a really good coach. I want to say that right now. Tosca is very magical because she can bring out love in everybody, and I love that about you.
Oh, wow. Thanks, Annie. It's funny because I was a little bit nervous about today, and I think it's because I just have so much respect for the work you do, for the knowledge you have, for how you hold space. Even just in your explaining, there's just so much love and passion and compassion in just the describing of what you do. And I hope this gives people a sense of when you're in your presence, it is such a gift. And
Thank you.
yeah, and I think that one of the things that stuck out to me was actually early on when you were talking about that one client that you had, and you were like, oh shit, I think I'm magical. I'd love to hear more about what was that like for you, because I think that so many people may have those moments and dismiss it, oh, whatever, it was my training, like you said, or it was but what do you think allowed you to really see in that moment your magic and embrace it?
I have a great answer. Because let me tell you, I have told this story so many times because it was really a defining moment for me. So let me tell you, I'm a different person today. So let's go back to that girl. Okay, that girl was perfectionistic, type A personality, straight A Dean's List student her whole life, and was taught, don't do 100%, do 150%, and expect nothing less and make it happen. No matter, even if, like, I die or something, I just gotta, like, make it happen. So that girl came to that guy, and this guy, when I tell you, he was in so much pain. I had to prop his legs up with a stool. I couldn't do anything for him. Massage, heat, ice, electrical stimulation, all my physical therapy modalities out the window. All I could do was make him comfortable. And I said to him, excuse me one moment. I'll be right back. This is a true story. I went to my colleague, Terry, who taught the in-service, and I said, okay, just like give me this voodoo instruction about what you talked about yesterday, because I think I'm just going to try it. I'm like that. So she goes to me, she goes, okay, Annie, listen, this is what you do. Put your hand under his sacrum, put your other hand on top of his pelvis, close your eyes, take a deep breath, get out of your head, and just do nothing. And wait and listen. And I'm like, do nothing? And I'm thinking to myself in my head, I'm a PT. I do shit. Like, I move things. Like, I don't ever do nothing. I don't even have a space for that in my structure. I'm thinking, but I was like, all right, I like challenges, I'm competitive. I'm like, I can do this. I'm gonna do nothing and see what happens, So I go in there and I go to the guy, you know what? We're gonna do something different today. You just relax. We're gonna relax today. So I set myself up very professional, and I get into my zone, and I just take a deep breath, and I get out of my head, and I'm like in the space, and I'm just breathing and holding this intention of, show me, what do you need? And all of a sudden, it took a little while, I felt a million things. There was heat, there was vibration. I could feel him, like, as a person. And it was so profound. And then I found that I could surrender and trust this other part of me that was always there, but I just didn't let her out. And I felt rightful, like I felt I was who I was. I just fit in that capacity. And I just was like, what? I couldn't believe it. And then I just did the whole thing. It felt so organic to me. And at the end, I just felt lit up. Like the light switch in Annie was turned on. But I have to tell you, my ego mind definitely was still wanting to rule the roost. So I didn't really own it until, quite frankly, many years later, until I started to train so heavily that I myself had to be a recipient of the work. And my trauma came out big time. And that's because I did more than craniosacral training. I went into other things. I went into visceral manipulation, which is working with the organs, and your organs are the echoes of your emotion. So organ work is very emotional, very liberating. I went into Gestalt psychotherapy training. I went into lymphatic drainage and somato-emotional release training. So I went on that table and I met myself, and I was humbled. And it took years until finally I took a deep breath into my full being and accepted who I was. And then, boy, did I come out. Let me tell you, in many ways, my whole life changed. My whole life changed. And I actually got younger. I felt more youthful, more true to myself. And my whole life changed in so many. I mean, I can talk about that too, but I just wanted to answer that particular question. I took a chance. I took a chance.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
listened to an inside voice.
yeah. Yeah, I just thank you for sharing that. It was just so awesome. And the thing that actually keeps coming to mind and keep going on the story of like Annie coming out in every way. Like I mean, but the one thing I do want to mention also is, you know, I talk about magic on this platform, and it's a little clumsy for me. Like you have a lot more experience, you know, in kind of honoring that. But like the fact that you got this just in time training, right? Like
Yes, that's divine.
that's all magic and divine, right? Like that's
Yes.
part of it. That's part of it.
You speak in my language, because you are right. And I have to tell you, I know now, when I think back, the people I've met, the situations I found myself in, the divine in all of that. And as I received craniosacral work, I was able to connect more divine signs and trusting my intuition. And I think I want to explain, you know, a little bit. I'm going to go a little tangent here. And this is part of who I am as a person too, is I want to explain that we do have a lot going on. Like we have a new age movement where a lot of people are doing energy work. And, you know, we have a lot of meditation coming on the scene. We have a lot of, I just lost my thread for a second. Hold on. More awarenesses about like yoga and you know, people now have this opportunity where these beautiful modalities are embraced. But with the new age movement, I do have a little thing about that I want to qualify. I feel it's important to be grounded. Like it's great to go off and fly around and do like lots of, you know, meditation, visualization experiences and have all of these beautiful ceremony experiences. And I'm all about that. But I also feel it's important to remember we're on Earth. So the way my version of magic and divine is to really connect with Mother Earth. We're here. We have to really learn to be good guests, you know, and respect Mother Earth, feel her, call her in, the plants, the animals, the trees, the creepy crawlies, the skies, everything. Really root into the molten center of the earth and feel her, because we are her. And then we have our physical body, and we want to be with that and be with all the energy, you know, body, emotional parts of the physical body. And we want to be also connected to the divine in terms of the cosmos. So the stars, the moon, all the forces that be, guides, the spirit realm. So for me, I think what I relish is to be able to have what I call the ninja connection, which is that the best of both worlds, to be rooted in your planet, in who you are, to be connected to the cosmos, and then have that divine oneness of that collective connection. And then to embrace these modalities of meditation, homeopathy, yoga, acupuncture, Chinese herbs. There's craniosacral therapy, visceral therapy. We have this opportunity to heal each other, and body work becomes really critical. You know, energy medicine. And, you know, look at homeopathy, where you're bonding with plant spirit healing. And also, there are remedies extracted from the animal and mineral kingdom. These kingdoms, the crystal nation, these are all divine intelligence, and it is magical because it's not linear and it doesn't have to be evidence-based. A lot of it is anyway. But just feel being magical is being true to that innate intelligence and intuition, so that there are gifts that can come out that are not just contrived and manipulated and controlled by the ego. The ego is not the devil. It's great for logistics, but it's really a servant of the heart, right? In Chinese medicine, when the heart is the sovereign ruler, it's sanity. When the mind is the sovereign ruler, it's insanity. So I know people talk about mind, body, spirit. I think it's the opposite. I think in the priority, it's spirit, body, and mind. I think that spirit is the basis of all disease and ease, and the body is the temple that we hold that beautiful essence in. And the mind is the logistics of how to navigate. Okay, we're in this earthly 3D plane. It's a little confining, you know. How do we drive that car, you know, and then try to be who we really are? You know, we do have to do things like eat and learn to read and write and stuff like that, you know, and plan. Not too much, but
she's like qualifier.
So I think, you know, for me, it's important to have all of that in perspective, and our intention is to just really be true to who we are, with respect, of course, for others around us, to have good boundaries. That's a whole thing that I'm really big on. Energy boundaries between each other. Where do I begin and end? Where do you begin and end? And where can we meld, where we don't eclipse over each other, where there's a communion and an exchange and mutual, you know, love, right? So that's a lot.
I love it. You know, I have so many questions. So first, I just want to acknowledge, you know, that Wendy says, how cool is it you became a recipient of the work, as you put it. And I feel like, and Karen's adding, you know, that we're both magical women. Audrey, thanks. But, you know, I think that I kind of had this rant. I think it was Friday. I did this rant about like coaches and like, you know, demystifying and how do you find your coaches and or any healing modality, anybody who's doing any kind of healing work. And to me, it's like, yeah, you have to receive the work in order to give the work.
Yes.
To me, it's like,
yes.
So I think that comes with the territory of you know, working with others, helping others, and being the light for others, you know. And one of the questions that comes to me, so I mean, right, in the work that you do, you clearly have you have this technical, you know, I mean, you have like this knowledge, this technical knowledge, and like physically, right, like you know what to do. You've had all kinds of training, and it's very spiritually connected. And I'm wondering, like, are there craniosacral? Can you do this work? Can it be received if the practitioner and the client don't have the spiritual connection? Like, can you still do the work, like, with just like, you know, the energy work, but not really be connected? I don't know. Like, I don't know what your perspective is on that.
That's a really great question. So, and I can definitely answer that. My experience has been, I can, you know, just talk about my experience. My experience has been that when I meet practitioners in training that are really more technically based, where they're looking at it as a technique, they may not be ready in their own belief system to address their spirituality, which is their right. So their comfort zone may be just in employing a fascial diaphragm release technique according to the Craniosacral 10-step protocol. It's a very well-defined technique. No one's asking you to channel anything or bring your guide in. They're just asking you to show up with this physical technique. And so you're going to take your client as far as you've gone. So you and your clients are going to have a technical experience, right? If we take another situation where a practitioner, let me just talk about myself. So I am a spiritual woman, a loving woman, and I always respect when someone walks through my door, where is their belief system? Because our belief system is very powerful, right? It really commands the decisions that we make, the moves that we make, what we can receive, not receive, what's our ability to trust and surrender and execute action, and so on and so forth. So if I'm going to always be me, and I'm going to have that availability of being able to go into a spiritual place. What does that mean? If someone comes in my office and says, they're not, I know their belief system is like, they're not in for that at all. They're just interested, they have sciatica, and all they heard was that I can do something that no one can explain, and they just want to get rid of their pain. And I'm like, okay, let me meet you where you're at, because I always want to be respectful. I can tell you what I'm available for, and I let them know. Sciatica can be something else. There may be an emotional investment. You may start to have, memories of something, or you may discharge something else. And if they say, okay, I'm in for that, I'm like, okay, me too. So we have this agreement, and we are able to do something and chemicalize together. If they come to me and I make them that offer, and they're like, oh no, I'm not here for that. All I care about, no, I'm just for that pain. I would be like, okay, for today, let's see where that goes. I meet them where they're at. Now, if they stay there and they can't move from that place in space, it's going to limit my ability to help them. I may not be the right therapist for them. I may have to have that discussion. Not saying that you have to go where I want you to go when you come see me, but I have to also honor too the type of clients that I'd like to work with, because it's a two-way street, right? And I want to be happy too. So we have a mutual respect and an understanding. Nowadays, I don't have those kinds of clients that come in to see me. I have clients, and because I've bothered to cultivate the kind of practice that I would like to be immersed in, because I want to be happy too. So I am more of who I am. So now I attract more of who I would like to work with, because the universe, when you put an intention out, responds. And I meet a person wherever they are at. So if they're able to do a little bit of that work and be vulnerable, and they're willing to do that, I respect 100% what they can do and what they're available for. I don't believe in pushing or prodding or having expectations. I have no agenda. I'm just going to show up and let's see what you would like to do today. And so my experience is that once they even meet themselves with their vulnerability, they light up. Their own little light switch lights up. We do the work together, and it evolves. And everyone evolves at a different place in space. So I have clients like you who have been like, boom, lit up, coming from a place of like saying, and I'm using your words because you already admitted it, what is this shit, Annie?
I was. In fact, I was so, after a few appointments, I was like, no, I need to understand logically what the hell is going on, because this makes no sense. Yeah, I bought a book and I was like, what is this stuff?
And I said to you, in my office, 1 + 1 does not always equal 2. And that's just what it's like. But then, and then you have other people that go as far as they're willing to go, and it's all okay. It's all beautiful. Like nature, I want to respect nature. I don't want to go into my ego and decide what I think a person needs. I want them to feel like they can connect with that for themselves. I want to facilitate that. That's my job. Is when a healer holds a sacred space of high vibration and love and is very expansive, that other person, it's the law of physics, feels it, and then they can expand.
Right.
If they want, and people do that in my office. People do end up oftentimes coming into full expansion, being vulnerable, feeling safe enough to do that, going into their hearts and discovering really parts of themselves that they suppressed, and that, my experience is that never works. We really just are here to be who we are. And I think, when we talk about my coming out story, is like, I think it took me a while to individuate and mature out of my parents' belief system, my relatives, my friends, my, whatever, my city, my country, my town. I really bothered to cultivate my sense of self, to find myself. And then once I really did that, I became more comfortable, less anxiety, because I wasn't having to wear a mask all the time. And I changed my life. I made really big moves. I got a divorce, and I ended up coming out as a gay woman, late in my life. I'm 61, and I came out as a gay woman when I was 58. And I felt so good because I was like, oh my God, I know who I am. This is great, watching people fall apart. But I couldn't manage their processes, and I stayed with my own. And that was the strength that I got from doing the work. It was like I realized, there's only so much for me to go around. And I just had to gain those sea legs by doing my own trauma work, my own healing work, because that was not the prescription in my household. I was brought up to do what I was told, not make waves, make it happen. And so now I make waves all the time.
Yes. Cheers to making waves. I'm with you on that. Yes.
Good waves, though.
Oh, yes. Oh, no. Yes. They're all good waves. But sometimes, I don't know, personally, I have to kick a few people in the pants, but, it's still good. It's still in service. Oh, man. Well, thank you for sharing that. Wow. I mean, I think it just shows the depth of work that you've done on yourself to discover parts of yourself, at this stage of your life, in these years.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah.
I just want to, just because it's like lighting up for me, I want the audience to know that everyone deserves to breathe. Like nobody's breathing. And when the times are compressed, when scheduling in space is compressed, we're compressed. And so I love craniosacral therapy because I know that it brings a person to their breath and into intimate places in their body. And I love all the other modalities too, the homeopathy, the acupuncture, Chinese medicine, Tai Chi, yoga. And I just want to encourage everyone to know that, you have a right to breathe. And people can't do that for you. You got to do that for yourself. And you have a right to do that. So do that. Find what helps you breathe. We come in here with our breath, and we leave with our breath. It's a big deal.
I love that. Yeah, it's like finding spaciousness, finding what works for you.
Yeah.
To get that spaciousness. And I think I think the reason why I was like so excited for this conversation, not just because obviously it's you and you're magical and all that, and also to raise awareness of what is out there,
Yeah.
because where else do where if it's not in mainstream type of conversations right now, at least not here. And so the big, I think big thing for me was how do yeah, like how do you drive awareness and also help people understand that like it's there's there's a possibility for magic with it, you
Mm,
know, and also there's real physical experience as well. And so
yes.
I love how you
I
said earlier, it's like you meet them where you are and you can get to where you can get to based on right that where they are, where the practitioner is and so I guess I say you know that I think the big thing for me too is sometimes when we have bad experiences with practitioners, either
yeah.
we throw it all out or we say, I'm never going to try that or I'm never going to try anything because look at what happened there. Like I had a really bad chiropractor experience and like I'm personally like, I don't ever see myself going to another chiropractor as long as I live, you know, and that's not necessarily good either because it means that I didn't find the right one for me or, you know,
Yeah.
whatever. But um, yeah, I guess you know, I guess my question would be like for you, if somebody's like, "Oh shit, this sounds really awesome," um, what kinds of things can people go to craniosacral healers for? Like what? Like
Oh,
yeah, I'd love to like get your take on like, come see me if,
okay.
you
So,
know.
so I'm going to backtrack to the beginning of your line of questioning, um, the how-to part. So I encourage everyone to listen to their deepest inside voice because, you know, there's a place in our bodies when our cat hairs go up, when our gut is like, you know, or when our chest, our breath opens and it's like a yes. So those nuances of body communication are important to acknowledge over, well, this person has a billion qualifications, but I'm in their office and I don't, it doesn't feel right. Like maybe the, you know, I'm going to make this up. You're going to a practitioner of any modality. They have a billion qualifications. You're giving them credibility. You walk in the office, and all of a sudden, all of these little red flags happen. It doesn't feel 100% right. They walk in, they're jittery, they're nervous, you know, they're texting, it's totally made up. You never know. Listen to that because the intention is I want to feel safe and open and I want to be able to heal and feel good. I want to be happy. I want to be less anxious. I want to have less pain. I want to have, you know, better self-regulation, you know, sleeping, eating, elimination, our breath, all those things. So inside voices really count a lot. And that's one thing I have to say. The other thing is, I know poor chiropractors, right? We hear about these poor guys. Can I just tell you,
All right, well,
I
tell me
love
who you go to then,
chiropractors.
because
I
I'm
have to
just
tell you, I have two chiropractors. I have a beautiful chiropractor who, you know, does his manipulations and his magic. He's very magical. And I have another guy who's magical who does network chiropractics. And, you know, and I've had my share of craniotherapists and craniotherapists not as much, but other therapists where I had felt like, this doesn't fit. So my first thing is get out and don't worry about it. Like, okay, good to know. This doesn't fit. Good to know. Dig deep again. Try somebody else, whether it's by word of mouth. I always say people can contact me because I may not be the right person for you, but if you tell me that what your mission is and what your possibilities are, I could find the right person for you. So I really love networking in that fashion. There is the Upledger Institute where you can look up craniosacral therapists. There's a directory that's international, and it shows all their training. I mean, there are directories. There's the Cranial Academy of Osteopaths that you could look up. I like word of mouth. I think that that's very effective, and there are a lot of network groups, I think, on Instagram and Facebook that you might happen upon in your area, you know, trusting other people and their experiences. And there was another part to your question that I didn't get to. What was the last part? Because I'm trying to think about, it was cranial.
Oh, like what? Yeah.
Before.
Yeah.
So believe it or not, okay, craniosacral healing, when you restore the cerebral spinal fluid circulation, and there's a lot of fascial releasing and energy releasing that happens at the same time, and also circulation of all kinds usually improve with cranial work. So you have better lymphatic drainage, better digestion, better cardiovascular circulation, better oxygenation of blood. It can literally change, craniosacral therapy can change your vital signs and reduce your blood pressure and your heart rate. It can reduce a fever. It's very profound. It can reduce anxiety because you're bringing your body into homeostasis and balance, and then your immune system can operate. So I have people coming to me for everything: anxiety, respiratory dis-ease, any sort of pain syndrome, chronic pain, acute trauma. It's excellent to treat trauma, having just had a fall, an accident, a traumatic event with an emotional, insult. I would say it's really usable for most everything. It's the intention of the person receiving it, the intention of the practitioner, the resonance of the two that makes the possibility to go up into healing. So, I mean, you can ask me right now, and I'll tell you, give me a proposition of a possible, thing, and I can tell you probably, how it can help that. But it's very, very profound. I see, I do a lot of trauma work. I see a lot of people who don't want to have surgery or who have had a lot of surgery. I've done a lot of mastectomy work. Women who have implants and then they take them out. Women who have had, C-sections and everything. I've had men that have had prostate dysfunction, and I've been able to work with the prostate energetically and cranially. Like, it's just so many. I do a lot of intraoral work and cranial work. We work inside the mouth, and that is so profound. Who works inside the mouth? Nobody.
Right.
Some chiropractors do, some dentists do, but so these places and spaces that don't get touched or accessed quite often, they do in cranial work. And working on the cranium in and of itself, because the cranial plates are not fused. Your cranium moves. It has a movement and a rhythm. And to restore your head, like, everything works better. When you have cranial base space opening and your brain has more room to function in and have better circulation, I guarantee you most everything is going to work better for you in the final end. And a lot of times energy gets stuck in the head, and it's hard to find the ground and be grounded. People that walk around with dizziness and vertigo, they have brain fog, they feel flighty, they can't get grounded. Like, it's very profound. Very profound.
Oh, I know. And that's why I'm trying to tell everybody about it. And I think that, I think what I've gone to you, like, even in the beginning, right? Like, I didn't go to you saying, hey, I had, like, a whole shit ton of surgeries early in my life. And, like, I didn't go. I went to
that.
Huh?
The tissue
Uh-huh.
reveals the memory. So when I'm on someone, we could be working on asthma, or we could, whatever, it doesn't matter. But tissue has memory on a cellular level. So that's when all of a sudden people start to remember things that may have nothing to do with why they came. And I say to them, great, it's an opportunity. Let's listen. What would you like to do with that?
Yeah.
And the person gets to decide. And that's the beauty of it. That's what healing is, right? It's
Yeah.
the sacred agreement with the intention of being able to find a new place, be vulnerable, work with it, get through to the other side, and find a new place, because we can't always reframe things and package it in a bow and put it on a shelf. It's still there.
Mm.
You know, we can work with it and make it bigger and then go through to the other side and release it so that it just kind of disintegrates and it doesn't hold us hostage anymore.
Mm.
And then we can be available for greater things that we're really here for.
Yes. And that reminds me of when we first, like, we were kind of going back and forth about what you want to talk about. You had this idea about like how to live your magic wherever you are.
Yeah.
So like, what message do you want to share to those listening now and later about that? You know, because to me, when you talked about that, it wasn't necessarily about get craniosacral therapies, energy healing. It was
Right.
something else. So I'm
Yes.
curious what, because you talked a lot about like listening to yourself, your inner guidance, your whispers, your owning your truth. And I think sometimes it can be really hard, especially for people in a really, really challenging place to tap back into their magic. So what tips do you have about
Well,
that?
you and I read, that book by Glennon Doyle, Untamed, and I love that book. I mean, I haven't finished it yet, admittedly, but I have to tell you, one of my favorite parts of the book is where she talks about how she goes into her closet and she can't be still. She has a really hard time being still, and I hear that a lot from people. They have a hard time being still. And she's in her closet for 5 minutes, and then the next time it's like a few more minutes more, just to breathe and connect and listen. So for me, it starts there. And then, because when you can find your breath and go in, and it's what I love about meditation, we expand beyond the confines of this body, the 3D experience. We expand out, and then all of a sudden, things can come in. Ideas, inspirations, awarenesses. Everything is awareness. If you have awareness, then all of a sudden, you have an opportunity. Every day is a new day for new opportunities. Every moment is a new moment to do something differently. And it could be small. I say to everybody, keep it small. Take a bath. Have a cup of tea. Bother to feel it. Feel your body. And listen. And when you listen to yourself hearing something, if you hear yourself say, oh, that's silly. No, it's not silly. Just don't qualify it, quantify it, measure it, and you don't have to share it with 10 people. Keep it for yourself. Be sacred with yourself. Find out what's in there. And then you start to know and expand that. Like maybe you want to buy a journal and start to do some writing and keep it to yourself and not share everything with every single friend that's going to have an opinion and a directive. Be sacred with it. Maybe you're going to go and buy a crystal bracelet and wear it because somewhere inside of you it feels good. Okay, that's magical. You're being vulnerable and inviting something to let you feel good. I'll take it, and you just expand it from there, and it gets bigger and bigger. Once you make that commitment with that sincere, heartfelt intention, believe me, it will be met with all these divine signs and occurrences that you just cannot make up. It really happens. Just like your Blue Jays this morning.
Yes, my Blue Jay visitors. Ours. I think they were our visitors.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
But I think there's something in that, and I feel like this could be a whole other conversation. And I know we're coming up on like our time here, but I think that so much of our magic has been it's just been oppressed,
Oh, yes.
especially in the Western, right? Because it's like, oh well, I can't explain it, and so it doesn't matter, or just stuff like that, which I think is just this part of the awakening of how to, also in the work, that I do, and everything you just said like completely resonated. It was like, yeah, and I think it's just like those openings for people to know, like that's real. It's just as real as the textbook that you read. You know what I mean? It's just as legitimate. And actually, it's like yesterday I was on this call with this woman. It was like our first like just one-on-one chat. Like I really enjoyed her vibe and was like, hey, you want to like get on a call? Anyway, long story short, I was like, you know, she said something. I was like, you know what? Would you want me to pull a card for you?
I love that.
And
Yes.
and there was a part of me that was like, don't ask her that. You don't even know her. Like, and partly also, I don't, this is new for me, pulling a card for other people. And like, anyway, at the end of it, I was like, okay, she asked her question in silence, and I pulled the card. And of course, I'm also fumbling with the card. I'm like, oh no, which is the right card to pull? Like, it was a little bit of a heady thing for me too. I don't know what. Anyway, and I pulled the card. And she was like, and she starts crying, and she's just like, oh my God, this is exactly what I needed to hear.
That's magic.
And that's magic, right?
Yeah.
And it would have been so easy
Yeah.
for me to deny that, to say, oh, like, what is she gonna think of me? Or like, what if I pull something and it falls flat and this is gonna be stupid? But I think I think what resonated for me, what you're saying is just like it's almost like, just if you can't believe it, suspend that just for a breath, like, just bringing them back to that and say, it is
Right.
it is possible that this is magic and I am magic, and if so, what would I do with that?
Yes, and
you
I
know
love your process of identifying, wait, that's my heady part. Wait, let me drop in. Just like I had that process with the client. I had to surrender and trust and go to a different place. And you don't explain these things. This is
right,
not evidence-based medicine.
right.
Like, there's a place for that, of course, and there's a place for this. And this has been with us since we got here. Like, let's not forget that Chinese medicine is over 5,000 years old. Craniosacral therapy was first identified by a minister, a white male, Dr. Andrew Stills, who learned it from an indigenous Native American tribe. But of course, he wasn't going to say that. So he gave the, white version of calling it something. But you know what I say? It's been around since man was birthed, where one person held a space for another and put their hand on them with love and presence and said, what can I do for you? That's magic. That I want more of that in my life, and I hope you do too.
Yes, I love that, Andy. This has been such a gift. I was like, I'm gonna have an amazing day because I'm starting off talking to Andy.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your gifts, and I know that like it's vulnerable to be here and speaking our truth, and so I appreciate your willingness to do that.
It feels good, actually, and I want to thank you you're a great coach.
Oh,
You
thank you.
You got me. You got me, girl. You got me. Right
Yeah,
back at you.
By the way, I had this idea for the TED Talk. It could be called Issues in the Tissues. You said that. You used that phrase. I was like, oh, anyway, I'll be your PR person. It'll work out perfectly. Anyway.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in. Blessings to everybody. And
yes. Oh, thank you, Annie. And if just in closing, is there anything else you'd like to share before we sign off?
I just would like to say that we are in a beautiful, turbulent pivotal time, and we're all being called to do this, to do this, being vulnerable, being true, raising the vibration of the collective so that the earth doesn't spit us out. So just know that if you're doing this for yourself, you're doing this and you're healing the world. Like, it's much bigger than you and me. And I think we all should take responsibility for, you know, working with our trauma, our bodies, our lifetime here, and raising the vibration of ourselves and the planet.
Love it. Beautiful message. And as somebody who, you know, works with corporate leaders and in that world who has so much influence and ripple effects, like, I echo that in the space of when you do the work on yourself, you're improving the environments around you.
Yes.
And that is part of my mission, you know, which is helping folks in those environments be healthier, create healthier environments. And it all starts with you. It doesn't start with like that person.
That's right.
That person needs to be fixed. You know, they're broken.
We might have to have another talk. Because I was in the corporate world. We might have to do this again.
Okay, part 2. It's coming. See, you're already on the hook for part 2. All right, let's do it.
You're right, Tosca. You're damn right. Oh, excuse me.
Oh, Queens is coming out. I knew she was going to show up.
Coming out. Oh.
Brooklyn and Queens in the house. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, have a wonderful afternoon, and I look forward to part 2.
And happy Thanksgiving, Friendsgiving. Blessings to all and to you.
Ditto. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Ciao for now.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Bye.